Yeah. Now, yesterday we were discussing the Baal HaMaor Shita, that in the case of Gili Arayis, when it's a matter of life or death, so you're being compelled, as Esther didn't have much of a choice, that's called onus. On the other hand, Gili Arayis is one of the Averes Chamuros. So we're in a stalemate. And it's Shava b'Shava, Shakul. And the halacha that comes in as like the Kosva Shlishi is going to be Kiddush Hashem. And here the Baal HaMaor says that Kiddush Hashem would not apply in a scenario of Hanoas Atzman. Okay. Now, in Gimel Averes Chamuros, Kiddush Hashem applies not only b'far Hesia, but even b'tzina. Right? Averes Chamuros is even b'tzina, you have to give up your life. No one's around. In Shar Averos, Kiddush Hashem only applies b'far Hesia. So we know that in Averes Chamuros, Yehorg Val Yavar applies even b'tzina. Okay. Now, in Gimel Averes Chamuros, according to our interpretation of the Baal HaMaor, Yeharg Val Yavar is based on Kiddush Hashem. As far as the Chumash Haver is concerned, then that's offset or balanced by the onus and the fact that he's being forced or she's being forced to violate the Aver Chamur. So the Kiddush Hashem, we called it a machriya. Machriya means it's when you have a stalemate and two equal forces pulling in two different directions, then you need a third element, lachriya, to tip the scale, as we would say proverbially. So the machriya here, according to Baal HaMaor, in Gimel Averes Chamuros, is going to be Kiddush Hashem. So then, let's try to understand, according to the Baal HaMaor, how do we distinguish between Gimel Averes Chamuros and Shar Averos b'far Hesia? Shar Averos b'far Hesia, the Machayev of Yeharg Val Yavar, the reason for giving up your life is because of the mitzvah of Kiddush Hashem. But we've just established that the mitzvah of Kiddush Hashem applies even b'tzina. And the Yeharg Val Yavar of Gimel Averes Chamuros is generated by Kiddush Hashem. But it only applies conditionally if it was Lavuri al Das, but not Lanos Atz, but applies even B'tzina. But in Shar Averos, Kiddush Hashem only applies B'far Hesia. So how do we understand this? In other words, Mimanavshach, if Kiddush Hashem applies only b'far Hesia, then there should be no Kiddush Hashem b'tzina in Gimel Averes Chamuros, because again, we're dealing with Kiddush Hashem and not with the Chumash Havera. If, on the other hand, Kiddush Hashem applies even b'tzina, why in Shar Averos shouldn't the mitzvah of Kiddush Hashem apply even b'tzina? First of all, I want to take a minute and welcome Ruvain, because I didn't see you before, Ruvain. So now I'm seeing you for the first time. It's good to have you back.
Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed Pesach. Where in Passaic? Where were you?
Muncie.
Muncie, okay. I always get confused between Passaic and Muncie.
It's okay. Good to be back. Thank you.
Good to see you. Yeah, somebody told me that he wanted to buy a house in Muncie. He just couldn't afford it. I don't know. Seems like the prices have gone up over there. I don't know. All right.
All over.
All over. The Rambam writes, Perek Hey, Halacha Aleph, Mehilchus Yisodei HaTorah. Kol Beis Yisrael mitzuvim al Kiddush Hashem HaGadol Hazeh shenemar v'nikdashti b'toch b'nei Yisrael. Umuzharim shelo lechalalo shenemar v'lo sechalalu eshem kodshi. Now, the Rambam quotes the pasuk of v'nikdashti b'toch b'nei Yisrael. And Chazal learned that B'toch B'nai Yisrael means in the presence of 10 Jews, what we call B'far Hesed. So now we have Shar Averos, and the Machayev is Kiddush Hashem, but Dafka B'far Hesed. The Baal HaMaor has Kiddush Hashem, in Gimel Averes Chamuros, even B'tzina. So this is what we call a lav tafel. I don't know if you're familiar with this terminology. We could have an ikar alav, and we could have a lav tafel. Tafel means it's secondary. It's like a branch, an offshoot. You have the basic, the bark of the tree, and then you have an offshoot in the branch. So the main primary mitzvah of Kiddush Hashem, the Rambam derives from Nikdashti B'toch B'nei Yisrael, that's only B'far Hesed. Then we have Lo Sechal L'Shem Kodshi, Chil Hashem, which is also again B'far Hesed. Because the Rambam has Chil Hashem together with Kiddush Hashem. Kol Beis Yisrael mitzuvim al Kiddush Hashem, blah, 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 shenemar. And then Umuzharim shelo lechala. It's all one entity, two sides of a coin. Kiddush Hashem and Chil Hashem. Kiddush Hashem is B'far Hesed, and Chil Hashem is B'far Hesed. So you violate the lav of Chil Hashem B'far Hesed. But there's a lav tofet. There's an extension, albeit secondary, but there's an extension of Chil Hashem, even B'tzina. But that only applies to what? To the Gimel Averos. So when we derive Yeharg Val Yavar in the Gimel Averos, in the case of Avodah Zarah from B'chol Nafshechem, in the case of Ritzicha because of my Chazis, and in the case of Gili Arayis because of the equation to Ritzicha, in all these three cases, the Torah is being mechadesh a lav tafel of Chil Hashem. And that lav tafel of Kiddush Hashem applies even b'tzina. And there's no nafkamina between Tzina and Far Hesed. So what's happening here in a very unique kind of mechanics, physics, so to speak, halachic physics, is that you begin with Lo Sechalalu Chil Hashem B'far Hesed, that's the Ikar Alav. But then you have Yeharig Val Yavar in three cases, and that's going to expand our definition of Chil Hashem and generate what we call a Lav Tafel, expanding the scope of Chil Hashem to include even B'tzina. So the Yeharig Val Yavo, which is derived in each of those three cases from a different source, is going to shed a light on Chil Hashem, allowing for the expansion of Chil Hashem, and therefore Kiddush Hashem, to apply even B'tzina. That's the mechanics. But that only applies to the 3 Averos. When it comes to Shar Averos, where does Yehareg Val Yavar come from? We have no source for Yehareg Val Yavar. The answer is V'nikdashli b'toch b'nei Yisrael, meaning Bifarhes. Steve, did you want to say something? No? Okay. Now, the Gemara here on Daf Ayin Dalet Omid Beis has a third category of Kiddush Hashem, of Yehareg Val Yavar, in addition to the Gimel Averos, and in addition to Shar Mitzvos Bifar Hesya, we have something called Shas Hashmad. Religious persecution when the Malchus decrees Gzeros against the Jewish religion. And the Gemara establishes that in Shas Hashmad, Yehareg Val Yavar has the most extensive application, including even something beyond the mitzvahs HaTorah. In other words, in Shas Hashmad, the guy is forcing you to violate something that's not even in the Torah. And the Gemara gives the example of Arkasa de Misane, the laces on your shoe. What's it all about? So Rashi explains, Dibra Maskal Arkasa de Misane, Srochanal, the shoelace, Shim derech hanoshim likshar kach, the goyim wear it in a certain way. V'derech Yisrael binyan acher, the Jewish people dress differently than the goyim, and that difference manifests itself even in the way they tie their shoelaces. Keep going. Yesh tzad Yehudis b'davar b'derech Yisrael lios snuim. The Jews deviate from the dress pattern or dress code of the general population of Goyim because of tznius, a certain modesty in the way they dress. And we can think in contemporary terms about many, many different things. You know, what is a Jew meant to wear? How does he appear? Afilu shinui zeh, even regarding that change in the dress code of a Jew, in order to present a more modest appearance, she'en kan mitzvah leminhag, you won't find in the Taryag mitzvahs anywhere in the Torah that he has to dress, you know, with a more toned down, modest kind of dress. It's a minhag, but the minhag is based on the way a Jew is meant to live his life. Yikaris Hashem. He will sanctify the name of God by refusing to comply with the goyim who are compelling him under duress to change his dress code, even the shoelace on his shoes, to conform with the goyim. The high farhesya midavish of Yisrael. So I'm not sure I understand every word in Rashi, but one thing I do understand, that there's Yehareg Val Yavar in Shas Hashmad, even on a minhag b'Yisrael, even on a minhag, way beyond the Taryag mitzvahs. The classic example of Shas Hashmad is Nebuchadnezzar, Melech Russia. And he instituted Gzeros al Yisrael levatel dosam is Yeharig vel Yavor, not only on Shar mitzvos, but according to Rashi, even on a minute. But the Rambam is a little bit different than Rashi, or maybe even more than a little. Perek Hey Milchus Yisodi Torah, in this case, Halacha Gimel. Kol Advarma Elu, whatever we spoke about, Shalo b'shas ha'gzeira. Aval b'shas ha'gzeira, v'hu sheyamod melech Rosha kivinuchad netzar, v'chavera, v'yigzor gzeira al Yisrael levatel dosam, o mitzvah min ha-mitzvos, yeharg vel yavar, afilu al achas mishar ha-mitzvos, bein nenas b'toch hasara, bein nenas beino levein ovdei kolchov. So the language of the Rambam is al achas mishar mitzvos. But again, here the Rambam emphasizes beino leveina akum, meaning it's betzina. It's not in front of 10 Jews. In the case of shar mitzvahs, other than gimel averes kamuris, we require farhesi in front of 10 Jews. Here, in the case of Shas HaGzera, we're talking about Beino Leveina Akum. But it only applies to mitzvahs. Because the Rambam writes, Afilu al achas mishar mitzvahs. So again, I'm just pointing out, there seems to be machlokes between Rashi and the Rambam as to the scope and the application of Yeharg val Yavar b'shas hashman. Rashi applies it even to a minhag, and the Rambam says achas mishara mitzvos. Yes, in Mishnah, mitzvah kala yeharg val yavar, shalumai mitzvah kala omar rava barab yitzchak omar rava filu l'shnuye arkasa de misani pirush Rashi sochnal, etc., etc. Vatemal Rabbeinu shekosva afilu al mitzvah mishar mitzvahs mashma dafka mitzvahs avalov minam. Now, I don't know what he means by Temal Rabbeinu. He's upset with the Rambam, but the Rambam is not committed to the same position as Rashi. But the problem is, Arkas of the Mesanim, the shoelace, that's not Shar Mitzvahs. The Efsha Rabbeinu Hayimafarish Arkas of the Mesani, Kemoshe Pirish Harif, Shayiritzuos Yisrael Mishunos, Kidei shelo yilbishu malbush kusi. He's talking about the lav of bichukoseim lo telechu. So by changing his shoelace, he is violating this iser of bichukoseim because he's imitating the dress code of the goyim. So we're not joined from imitating the goyim in levush, in that dress code. And that's a lav. That's what the Rambam means by mitzvahs. And that's how the Rambam understands Arkus of the Messiah. Okay, so this is where we'll stop for today. Let's see if we can make a note of it so we'll know where we're up to here. And again, just a technical announcement, I'm waiting for them to set up the Wi-Fi there in that shul for the 10 o'clock shir. So as soon as I have an update, I'll let you know. In the meantime, status quo. Okay then? All right. Thank you very much. Everyone should have a great day.